Welcome back to Potty Mouth Moms. This is edition 2, volume 2 of Gut Dysbiosis. So my last video was pretty much me kind of ranting, but not really getting down to why I was talking about gut dysbiosis and why I got to that point. So my whole thing with gut dysbiosis was, why do I have a gluten intolerance? So I asked myself, what is gluten? Do you know what gluten is? So that is where I ended up, because I was like, why do I have a gluten intolerance? Where does that come from? What diseases are associated with it? My list came to 4 things. The 4 things on there were celiacs, non-celiacs, gluten-associated sensitivities, wheat allergies, which is your actual anaphylactic, people who are deathly allergic to wheat, the true allergy, and then you had gut dysbiosis. I had never heard of this term before. Never in my life. So I am elevated currently, so let's see how trustworthy I am with the information I'm going to give you. So gut dysbiosis. Gut dysbiosis is a disruption of your gut microbiome. So let's ask the question, do you know what your gut microbiome is and what it does? Let's go down to there, okay? Basic. Gut dysbiosis is a disruption of the microbiome. So your microbiome is this ecosystem in your gut and primarily in your large intestine that is trillions of bacteria, virus, fungi, and other little microorganisms that are meant to be there. And it differs from cultures to cultures because our diets have been changed and altered over the years, genetic adaptations. Obviously, things are going to be different. But what about my microbiome is different? That gluten triggers it to be sensitive to it. And furthermore, I go down that rabbit hole and questions of why? Squirrel. Why is American-based gluten really effective and highly triggering for my gut versus Italian gluten? Now, we already know that recently it has been thrown out there, Italian-based cooking, it's becoming more of a frequent thing because people are becoming more and more sensitive to gluten. So the people that, like me, had to suffer in silence and try to find anywhere to get something that was gluten-free, shout out to Caitlin, old friend, very good friend of mine, trying to find something that was gluten-free anywhere, even in New York when we used to travel. Why was American gluten triggering when Italian wasn't? So I get my Italian semolina baked goods from Italy. I will go to Italy in New York or look online, but I primarily like looking at the products themselves in person. But what about the microbiome is triggered by that gluten? So you're going to come along with me as I explained what your actual microbiome is, because I think it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to be purposeful like I usually am. And by the way, this is what I'm working with. If you can see, I've got no butt. There's nothing there anymore. I'm not sure about those yet, but I don't look unhealthy. I'm not unhealthy. But you don't see the joints slipping. You don't see the fact that there's times when I'm sitting that I get up and my hip is literally locked and I have to try to manipulate it out. And if I don't do it right, I'm in excruciating agony walking around pretty much dragging my leg because it's dead. There's so much that we don't talk about, but ranting. Stay with me, microbiomes. It's bedtime. I'm rocking the warm jammies because it's freezing, and I've got 0% body fat. So, welcome back. My name is Veronica. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself earlier. If I didn't, oh fuck this glare. Anyway, so gut microbiome, what is it and what does it do? So, yes, and I'm normally like this. If you don't know me, sorry. If you do, yeah, you already know. It is that little ecosystem in your gut, primarily your large intestine. So what does it do for you? Your gut microbiome, it does digestive stuff. This is where you absorb and get your nutrition. Vitamin B12, amino acids, K2, other things. All your nutrition is pretty much absorbed into that part of your gut. The Other thing it does, again, let's go back to immunity. So it is part of your immune system, 70%. And correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I am elevated. But if you have better data than I do, or you have comparative or data that denies or disproves this, please educate me why I'm wrong. But 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So what happens there is that you have the immature immune system cells are developed and trained there to distinguish between what's harmful and what's good. And now, again, I don't say bad bacteria or good bacteria, because harmful is, to me, like calling something venomous versus poisonous. You know, it's not there to hurt you. It's there because it serves a purpose. So what is that purpose? Why is it good for our gut to be there? You know, and what causes it to get inflamed? But to distinguish the difference between the harmful and the good bacteria, you have to develop them. They have to be trained. This is what happens in that area. This is part of that microbiome. So I just find this all thoroughly interesting. So you have just two, those are only two functions of your gut microbiome. That's crazy. Think about that, you know? So your gut ecosystem, the gut dysbiosis, just the beginning of it, you have two areas that are affected that can affect a huge variety of things in your system. Just think about that for a second. Tell me I'm wrong. Squirrel. That's what I like to call the squirrel. I got cotton mouth really bad, so I had to go get a drink, and then I got distracted. Fighting with the 10-year-old. Okay. It puts the lotion on its skin. I gotta say, are anybody else's lips like super chapped? Like, coconut oil, not touching it this time. Ain't doing it. Okay, so gut microbiome, back on topic. Squirrel. So I just discussed, literally, nutrition absorption, amino acid absorption, your vitamin K essentials that we need, large intestines. Okay. Immune system, 70% of our immune system, this is how it learns what's good and bad. This is how those things are trained. This is my favorite. Next one is the gut-brain axis. Have you ever heard of this? Gut-brain axis, gut health. There's a lot of studies done with kids with autism or on the spectrum, Down syndrome, just kids with special needs. And, you know, there's also those, it was just recently talked about that, the tapes done about nonverbal autistic kids being telepathic. Like, oh. But anyway, there was also a lot of studies done about their gut health and how it affected them and how well they did when they were regimented on healthy diets with interaction and stimulation and being able to cope and function better, and how well they learned how to use the parts of the brain that were overstimulated or underactive. But the gut-brain axis, this is part of your gut microbiome. This is how this all interacts. If you don't know what that is, the gut-brain axis, that is the part of your gut that actually makes serotonin and dopamine. Your gut produces these. Crazy. Think about that. Not only are they produced in there, 90%, 90, not 100, 90%. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, not an expert. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Not an expert. But if these are even remotely probable statistics, that's crazy. Why is this not talked about? But 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. So depression, anxiety, I remember, what was that McDonald's video years ago, when he ate McDonald's for how many days in a row, weeks, months, and the depression that set in, and all those associated symptoms. And hello, oh, wake up. So gut microbiome. Oh, so in addition, this is another favorite fact of mine, is that, do you know, like, we talk about how funny it is, or you know, we talk about this thing that happens, and it's when gentlemen, primarily gentlemen, but when guys are on the toilet and they're trying to poop, and they poop and they pass out. That's called what? Those of you healthcare providers who are out there know, is your vagus nerve gets stimulated and you pass out. When somebody has a cardiac event that is a rapid heart rate, a lethal rhythm, we tell them to bear down like they're pooping to stimulate their vagus nerve. That is just one of those little things that you really have to think about, that considering the fact that your gut and your vagus nerve are this highway between the gut and the brain. Your microbiome affecting all this. And if you didn't know, not only does that vagus nerve get stimulated, that pathway helps stimulate, control, and influence your mood, your thought process, and how you manage stress. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I haven't even hit all of the points yet. So that's just 3 of the things that your gut microbiome influences. Gut dysbiosis is a disruption and an inflammation of your microbiome. Food for thought. Again, I'm probably way more reliable, elevated than you are drinking. Thank you for watching Potty Mouth Moms. This will be continued. Again, stay interested.